Good afternoon, Southminster community. Our theme for today is acceptance. A good case in point is that I accept the fact that due to technical difficulties today, our scheduled speaker did not work out, so I was happy to step in at the last minute, meaning please keep your expectations low. I wanted to share the serenity prayer with you at this time. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. We've heard that prayer as Reinhold Niebuhr wrote it in the early 1940s as a part of a sermon he was giving. It was quickly adopted and hallowed into the walls of Alcoholics Anonymous. And each 12-step meeting ends with, and has for years now, ended with this prayer. Living in these pandemic times of 2020, the Serenity Prayer takes on deeper meaning that perhaps wasn't even there before. There is something about the word acceptance that strikes me. And I remember a quote from my seminary days that ended with this: we are left to accept our acceptance. In the last 6 months or more, we've had to learn to sit with, to be still, to accept, and that waiting has been difficult. When we were children, we would often say, I can't wait to go to school or to get my driver's license or for the prom. I can't wait to get married, to have children. I can't wait until this pandemic is over. Waiting is hard. We've already discussed the meaning of the word patience and noted that it means to suffer with, and we can all relate to that. We have been sidelined in terms of our daily activities and our lifestyle. In terms of waiting and accepting what is, I came across this Chinese parable of a woman whose stepson literally hated her. She longed to make him love her and force him to see her. She went to a healing man who promised her a potion, but needed a secret ingredient. He needed the whisker of a lion. The woman was determined to get that whisker. She began by finding a lion in the forest, and each day simply sitting and watching him from a distance. One day she put meat close to where he slept. This went on for weeks until she was at last able to sit beside the lion. And as he came to see her and trust her movements, she eventually handed him meat which he tenderly ate. After months of eating beside her, somehow the lion sensed her need. One day, without explanation, he bent his head downward, placing a muzzle in her hand. Seeing this as a sign, she plucked a single whisker and returned it to the healer. The healer smiled and told her the potion was ready. And then he said, and you have learned human patience in relationships and with careful thought. This is all you need to repair your relationship with your stepson. Waiting, accepting what is. This may be some of the hardest work you and I will ever do, but this time of waiting allows things to grow within our lives, even when and especially when we can't see it. Recently, a group of us were reading the book Centering Prayer and Inner Awakening by author Cynthia Bourgeault. In this book, she cites a wonderful fantasy novel by Ursula Le Guin called A Wizard of Earthsea. A young wizard named Ged is in training to become a sorcerer. One day, horsing around with his friends, he inadvertently conjures up a minor demon. The demon proceeds to haunt him throughout this time. As he grows in power and influence, it grows right along with him. Gradually, it turns very dark, and it begins to stalk him. He flees in terror. He runs to a city by the sea, but it follows him there. He hires a boat and rows out into the sea, but it follows him there. Finally, he jumps into the water, but the thing is still right on his back. Finally, with all the escape routes blocked, he does the only thing left to him. He turns to the demon and embraces it, at which point it vanishes, integrated back into the shadow he is finally willing to own. Acceptance. Accepting what we may have deemed unacceptable offers us a gift, offers us knowledge about ourselves. That is, if we're willing to look inside and see who we truly are, with all the flaws and with all our glory, this being that God wondrously and creatively made in God's own image. Once we do embrace our lives, change becomes a little easier than it was before. Perhaps when we fully accept the circumstances, whatever circumstances we are faced with, we will be given the courage to change what we can because we have stopped running from what is difficult. And remember, the last 7 months have proven that we can do hard. People have asked me, when is this pandemic going to be over? I say, we are one day closer to the end than we were yesterday. Finally, I invite you to explore something or someone in your life that needs your acceptance. May you be willing to seek a different way of solving a problem as a way to go deeper into your faith and more fully into your relationship with God. And may this quote invite you to consider that we all have need of God's love and grace. Resolve to be tender with the young, compassionate with the aged, sympathetic with the striving, and tolerant with the weak and the wrong. Because sometimes, my friends, we will have been all of these. Will you pray with me? God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Living one day at a time, enjoying one moment at a time, accepting hardships as the pathway to peace, taking as he did this sinful world as it is, not as I would have it, trusting that he will make all things right if I surrender to his will, that I may be reasonably happy in this life and supremely happy with him forever in the next. Amen. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace now and forevermore. Go in peace to love and serve your God. Amen.